All right, what up, y'all? It's Nasty Nate, and welcome back to the That Talk podcast. Today, I got a special guest, somebody I met on Instagram randomly. His name is Evan Jenkins. He's a credit specialist and a forex trader. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Go ahead, man.
What's going on, guys? My name's Evan, like Nate had mentioned, and I'm out here in Denver, Colorado, just kicking it. And yeah, kind of like Nate said, just in the Forex and credit space right now. So it's not really anything crazy, but trade Forex and teaching people about credit and also just using credit to like my own advantage.
So the reason that I wanted to get this man on here is because one, being an entrepreneur is something that I'm stepping into finally, and something I always wanted to do. So that's what attracted me to this dude in the first place. Like, he's an entrepreneur, and he's providing a service that I feel like is so important. I've always been, and everybody that listens to me know, I've always been like a kind of like a conspiracist, like, the system fucks us, and the school is shitty and all this stuff. I've always been like that. But he's literally teaching something that I feel is so important, and I didn't learn until, shoot, I mean, a couple of years ago at maybe like 26, like how important credit was. And I had to jump through all these hoops to build my credit. And he teaches people kind of how to give us our power back, I would say, with credit, and how we can use it, and how, keeping your money is a better thing, and how having your own capital, and then being able to take on credit to to make money and to leverage and to do something with. So kind of talk to me about how you got into the credit game, and then what was the motivation with it, and then basically what your service is and kind of the mission of your business.
Yeah, so it's a pretty basic story, honestly. I got my first credit card when I was 18 years old. I got a student credit card from US Bank and I got like a $600 limit on it and maxed it out. Didn't even know anything about interest or anything like that, but it was only 600 bucks. So I was just making the minimum monthly payment. But it terrified me so much. And 2 years later, about 3 years later, actually, I opened up my second credit card with Chase, and I actually got a bigger limit. So it was like a $4,000 limit. And, I was, when I first got started in entrepreneurship, I was doing door-to-door sales for a solar company. And we had the opportunity to move out to San Francisco so that we could do door-to-door sales out there. So I opened up this credit card because I think we were trying to get a rental car, and they would only take like credit cards. They wouldn't take debit cards. It was something weird. So I had to open up this credit card on a whim, and I got a $4,000 limit for my second card. Well, being in San Francisco, I maxed out that credit card like
3 days.
right away. No, I would say like 3 days. It was like a month or so, but yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
racked up, I racked up a 4G tab, pretty fast.
Hmm.
And I didn't even know what interest I was paying. I didn't know how much in interest I was actually being charged. I was just making the minimum monthly payment. I knew nothing about like paying statement balances or like anything that I know. And so um fast forward like about like a year and a half, so it's about a year and a half ago actually. So I was 22. I was connected with a dude. His name is Jeff Seckinger, and he's actually the one who pretty much taught me anything and everything that I know about credit right now. So I give all my credit to him. And I saw him doing all these really cool things with credit. I didn't know exactly what he was doing, but it was just really fascinating. Saw him posting on Instagram, saw him posting on Facebook, and we were in a network marketing company together. And that kind of fell apart. We're gonna build this company up, him, and then that fell apart. And then he kind of branched off into like his credit thing. And he
Hmm.
was in the financials. He was in the financial space at like a Series 7 with school. I think he was working for Edward Jones or Charles Schwab or something like that at the time. And so I'm watching him do all this credit stuff, and I'm seeing him. He lived in Ohio at the time, and I saw him take a trip to Florida, and he posted something that like, credit cards paid for like this whole trip, and he was out in Florida, getting rental cars, saying that he was able to get like upgraded rental cars. He's driving a Maserati around in Florida,
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
and I was like, and he's like, yeah, this Maserati only cost me like 40 bucks a day. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, Maserati's that cheap? And said his flight was paid for, his hotel was paid for, and I was like, all right, this is interesting. So he goes back to Ohio, in Ohio for like 2 weeks, and then he goes to, I think it was like California, or he goes to Colombia or something. and he's out in Colombia, and he's out in California just working remotely. And that like is like what really piqued my interest because I was like, wait,
Mhm.
he just went to
Yep.
I was like, he just went to Florida for like a week. Now he's in like Colombia and California.
Yeah, the
And like,
freedom.
this is like, like 3, 4 month time frame. And so I hit him up. I'm like, yo, like, what are you doing? And he's like, just using, points from, credit cards. And I was like, huh. And that's something that I didn't even really know too much about either.
Mhm.
So he released his course, and I think I was one of the first people to buy it. And in the course, I really got into credit just to learn about like travel hacking because, I was trading forex. I'd been trading forex, I think, for about a year and a half when I invested into Jeff's course. And I was like, yo, this is perfect. I'm gonna make my money with forex, and then I'm gonna pay for my vacations with these credit cards. You know,
Yeah.
and I was like, dude, that combo is
Deadly.
is so cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
deadly. Get to travel around for free, and then you'll make all my money with forex. Trade forex in the day and
Yep.
live the rest of my life. And so that's really what got started into credit. And then he started adding more content to this course, and then it actually turned into like his financial independence accelerator program. It's a full program on teaching you like pretty much like about credit and then actually how to like leverage 0%, which like was like a whole nother world that I didn't even know about. So my journey into credit, I really just got started for like the travel side. But then I saw Jeff started like, talking about, leveraging 0% to acquire real estate or leveraging 0% to, take high interest debt and
Yeah,
transfer it
wow.
to 0% and get out of it, debt.
Yeah, so real
And
quick before you pass that, can you give me like a little breakdown for somebody that because I feel like that's a super, super major key right there. Like, tell somebody a little bit about, how they can do exactly what you just talked about before we move forward.
so transferring high interest debt, it's really simple. It's just a balance transfer and you can get a balance transfer card. Or the other thing that you can do is if your utilization is too high, because that's one of the factors that go into credit, is you can open up. It's actually a pretty smart play. I was talking with a buddy a couple days ago about this. Is maybe just get like a personal loan and then transfer half of like that balance to a personal loan. And the thing
Mhm.
that it'll do is it'll add to like your credit mix because that's another factor too. So not
Gotcha.
only one are you getting your utilization down, you're opening up a whole new another
So
account.
having debt in more than one area is better than a large sum in one area?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So what builds like a really good credit profile is having student loans, mortgages, auto loans, good mix of
A
credit.
mixture, okay.
Because because the thing that I always tell people is that, if you were gonna lend someone money, I always use this example. If you're gonna lend someone money, you have two people, they're both 740. One person has one credit card for 12 months and they have no late payments, no nothing or anything like that, right? But then on the other hand, you have someone that's a 740 and they have on-time payments on their mortgage, they have on-time payments on their
Mm,
car note, they have 5 or 6 credit cards that they manage, and they have all on-time payments, and they have history for like 4 or 5 years. Who,
gotcha.
if you were going
Yeah,
to lend
yeah,
money, who are you going to be
gotcha.
more confident in lending money to?
Makes
You
sense.
kind of just have to think about like what the banks are thinking about. So it's really just building trust. So leveraging these credit cards because like coming back to that story when I racked up that $4,000 balance, I was paying 26% interest. I finally looked into what my interest was in that credit card. I was paying 26% interest on $4,000.
Wow.
I'm not going to do the math off the top of my head right now, but um, it's before we hopped on this call, I was just saying, if you have $10,000 in credit card debt, and average interest on a credit card is anywhere from 20 to 22%, which is insane. And if you really look at the numbers, so $10,000, if you make the minimum monthly payment, your minimum monthly payment is going to be about 250 bucks, but you're going to be paying about $200 a month in interest. So not only is it going to take you about 43 years to pay off that $10,000, you're going to pay $33,000 in interest off of that $10,000 if you only make the minimum monthly payment and never add a single charge to that credit card ever again.
That is
When I learned
crazy.
that, it's insane. So what you can do is if you take that $10,000 balance and you transfer it to 0%, you're still paying that $250, but the whole balance is going to, or the whole payment is going to the balance. So you actually cut that time from 43 years down to like 12 years if you make it
Game.
monthly, you
Game
know?
right here. This is some game right here.
And yeah, this is like really like even like something that's like too crazy, but like that, like once I learned that, I was like, damn, this is pretty cool. And so I actually transferred the debt that I had to 0% and actually got like completely out of debt. And then
Wow.
I was learning more about credit, and there's ways that you can take the money out of credit cards without paying the cash advance fees or the cash advance interest. So, you pay a small fee and take the money out of these 0% credit cards, and now you get a zero. Essentially, what we're doing is getting
Free money.
0% loans for 12 months, and then investing it into something that is going to return a cash flow, and then letting that cash flow pay off the credit cards, and then boom, once the credit cards are paid off, then you have a cash flowing income stream to which you can then use to put into like other investments, cryptocurrencies, stocks, whatever your choice is. And
Wow.
so the crazy thing is a business opportunity comes up, and um you can keep your money invested. So that's kind of like the whole idea behind this thing is, I started off as a trader, as an investor, and the biggest thing with investing is the compounding. So when you start to take money out of your investments accounts, it starts to, the curve should be, looking like this. But when you start to take money out of these investments accounts, the amount of years or the amount of money that you're actually taking out over like, 30, 40-year time period is crazy. So if you're able to, use someone else's money and leave your money invested so that we can still keep growing, I just posted this on my Instagram. It was, what is OPM, other people's money? So you can keep your money invested, let that, keep recurring, interest, um, and then also dividends. And then while you use someone else's money to also generate a cash flow. And then you can use that cash flow, to create supplemental income, get out of your job, use that money to throw more into investments, just completely just like change your lifestyle. And, if you need a little bit more time, because these credit cards only come with about like, 12, I'd say like 8 to 12, 8 to 15 month, 0% interest period, depending on the credit card. And if your investment still doesn't pay off within that time, well, then you just balance transfer that to another 0% card. And then, if you still need more time, then you balance transfer it again to another 0% card. So essentially, with these credit cards, you're able to essentially just move money around at 0% until the investment pays off. And once it does, then you just have cash flow.
Wow. That's crazy, bro. It's so cool to hear. Like I said, you're the space that you're in the service that you provide and the knowledge that you have is like really giving us the people our power back. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we without this type of knowledge, like we get played. I mean, we do. I mean, you have young kids, like you said, that sign up for 22% credit cards, like which is absolutely insane. I think my first one, I don't know how, but I got it for 9%, which I thought was because it was my first credit card. I thought that was astronomical. I was like 9%. I was like, what? Like I'm paying like so it's cool that like I said, to hear that there's ways for us to basically get our power back, because I really feel like that's where applying this knowledge is where we can. I mean, like you said, there you gave so many ideas for us to become prosperous out of playing the system against itself, in
Yeah.
some type of way. But I just wanted to go over that. So, continue with the journey, and then kind of go into, what's the mission behind all of this, and where do you see this going?
So yeah, it's kind of funny. So I've been in the credit space now, just on my own for probably about a little over a year and a half. So just doing everything kind of on my own, right? Like when I first got into credit, I just transferred all my high interest debt to 0%. And then this one day, I posted something like about like these credit cards that I have, and then had some people respond to my story saying, "Hey, like, do you think you'd be able to help me out? Give me some tips, tricks, stuff like that." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then I was, the just the response from that one Instagram story was kind of interesting. So I posted something like next week. I was like, "Hey, if I was able to help you with your credit, would you be open to that?" It was like a poll on my story. I did like yes or no. I think there was like 130 or 150 people that had engaged with that Instagram story. And I was kind of thinking, I was like, damn, there might be like a market here. And then I started thinking too, I was like, well, anybody and everybody in the United States has credit,
Or they need it? Yeah.
some or they need it. And So this was about like 6 months ago. And so I had like no plans in like teaching people credit or anything like that. And then one of my buddies, a close friend of mine, came out to me. He's like, "Hey, I got into some trouble with like this credit. Uh, what do you think I should do? What's the best plan of action?" And I was like, "Well, I need to take a look at your credit profile." And he pulled up Credit Karma, and I was like, "No, you can't use Credit Karma. You got to go to my FICO. You got to get like your actual true credit scores,
Mhm.
because what Credit Karma does is uses a Vantage score, and I won't get like too much into detail about like that, but you want to check your FICO score." So I was like, I need to see like what's affecting your credit, because there's 6 factors of credit, and once you know the 6 factors of credit and what's affecting you, then you can kind of reverse engineer and get your credit back on track. So if you have late pays, if you have high utilization, maybe you don't have like very much history, maybe you just don't have like a very good account mix, stuff like that.
Mhm.
So took a look at his credit. He had a couple of late payments, and I was like, "Yo, we just need to get these removed." And he didn't even know that was a thing. I feel like a lot of people don't even know that's a thing. You can get late pays removed. He was just gonna wait for him to fall off his credit just for it to go back to normal. He's gonna wait that 3 to 5 years for that late pay to fall off his credit report. And I was like, "No, we got to get that removed. We can get that removed in anywhere from like a month to 2 months, and just get your credit back on track." So I helped him, and then he introduced me to another one of his buddies, and his buddy was like, "Hey, I heard you help my friend. I was just wondering if you can help me." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I did the same thing with him, and then he referred me to like another buddy, and I was like, "Damn, like there might be like kind of a market here." I guess I didn't realize, like how much I knew about credit that other people didn't know. And um, I had posted like another story. I was like, if I was able to help you with credit in like the form of like a video course, who would be open to that? And just the response that I got from that, I was like, there's actually like a market here. So that kind of inspired me to, create a credit course and pretty much just teach everything that I know, just because one, it's really just doing it just because it's fascinating to me. And there's so many avenues that you can go with credit. It's wild. And, whether it be like just travel hacking, getting there's ways, you can get vacations just paid for just through credit card points, just by getting a couple cards. If you want to, create like an additional income stream so that way you can travel, we can also, I also teach that too. If you're just looking to start your credit, the right way, and, you know, a lot of people when they start their credit, they end up kind of like down the wrong path. And so, being able to take someone that doesn't have any type of credit or any type of knowledge about credit, get them started on the right track the first time so they don't ever fall into what I fell into, paying high interest. I never missed a payment or anything like that, because that's like the number one, that's the rule. Like, just pay your credit cards on time, even if it's just a minimum monthly payment. So teaching people, how to start credit the right way, teaching people, that maybe not have like not so good credit, teaching them how to fix their credit so they can get that home, they can get that apartment, they can get that car, they can get the personal loan, they can invest into their business, with other people's money. And then, like I said, like the travel side of it too, getting rental cars. And, there's even with these credit cards, there's status that comes along with them. So you actually get status at these airlines and these hotels where you get, upgraded flights, fly first class for the same price that you would fly economy. When you book hotels, you get like priority access to them. They upgrade your room. Like when you show up, you get late checkouts, cheaper rental cars. And then, you can use those points to redeem all of that stuff. So you're not even using your money, you're just using the money that the bank is just giving you in the form of points. And so really just the journey, I was just like, there's so much you can do with credit, and it's just fascinating to me that I just kind of enjoy teaching people and just like watching, I guess like for me, it kind of just like watching people's minds just kind of like make that like click, right?
Mhm.
Because um it's like the second or third video in the basic section in my course. It's like mindset behind credit cards, right? People open up credit cards to fund that purchase that they don't necessarily have the money for, right? So Black Friday, or they go shopping. That's usually like how people use credit cards, is they use these credit cards to, go and get the shoes that they can't afford, that they can't pay off the next day. And that's like what I really teach people is like, yo, you don't use credit cards unless you have the money to pay it off,
Mhm.
or you use the credit cards to invest in something that's going to create cash flow, or you use these credit cards just to, get, travel points without, and there's ways that you can actually hit introductory bonuses without like having to spend any extra money. So, teaching people that too. So really like with my course, it's kind of like I'm able to take, someone that maybe, has like no interest in being like an entrepreneur. So they may not, want to leverage 0%. They don't really care. But at the same time, they say, I like to travel, like I want to go to Mexico. Like, how do I get a vacation to Mexico? And I can teach them that. Someone that doesn't have any type of credit, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you a blueprint. Just follow the blueprint, build up your history, get you a couple accounts under your belt. And then that way you can start going after these travel cards. That way you can start going after the 0% offers and everything. Or if someone has bad credit, getting them back on track and then teaching them, if they want to go like the 0% route or if they want to go like the travel route or just get out of high interest debt. I even know how to transfer student loans, auto loans to 0% credit cards. So, someone wants, the the interest people don't really take into account on their student loans. And a lot of people don't even know that there's interest on their student loans. So, someone has like a small balance to pay off on their student loans, being able to teach them, hey, here's a way that you can transfer this student loan to actually 0% credit card and then transfer that balance to another 0%, right? Because most student loans are probably like in the range of, let's say, like what, like 8 to 10 years or something like that. So they're able to significantly reduce the amount of interest that they'll pay and then pay that off quicker without having to, spend any extra money. So, and then all at the same time, building up your score to, get the lowest interest rates on vehicles and mortgages. 'Cause that's massive too. Like interest on a mortgage. I think like the difference in like a 0.5% on a mortgage on like a $300,000 mortgage is like something like $90,000. My math might be wrong, but
It's
it's
insane.
it's over a 30-year time span,
Yeah.
and you're talking about, relatively low interest, but it's a massive amount that you're financing. So really just giving people the tools that they need to kind of, take their financial situation into their hands.
Hmm.
That's really kind of like what got me started. And I just like seeing people's, it kind of, I love watching see it click for people.
Hmm. The
It's
light go
cool.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's crazy to me as you were explaining that. I was kind of thinking like it's credit. Having credit is really just like a mix of, I don't know. It just reminded me of like just every sort of success principle. Like we have this power, right? But we don't necessarily have the knowledge to use it in the correct way. So, like you said, there's so many perks that you really have the power and you have the upper hand, and you can travel for free. You can get like like you were saying, getting like low rental cars and all these things. But what we do is we don't have the knowledge, and we have these like this low hanging fruit mindset. So we get the credit card, and what do? We buy material items, right? Because that's quick access to get those little needs that we need. And those, things that we may have insecurities or we may have, but really you have this power so much further into the future, or for things that can actually benefit you rather than things that you're just going to be. Because if you don't use credit, basically what I'm getting is out of this, and for myself now, is if I'm not using credit for those things like you explained, I'm really just creating another bill for
You're a
myself.
consumer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creating
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
so there's a difference, and I was taught this difference too. There's consumer debt and there's investor debt.
Hmm.
If you look at these massive companies, Coca-Cola is one of them, Apple, Microsoft, Google, they all have debt, right? But they're using this debt, they're using the bank's money's debt to invest into new technology, invest into people, invest into things that are going to grow their company. And, that way they can still keep their cash reserves. That's the important thing. Like I mentioned, when you're investing, you don't want to take the money out of your investment accounts because whenever you take money out of your investment accounts, you have to look at like the bigger picture. So when you're talking about, $10,000 earning, 10% a year in the stock market over 40 years, again, I forget the math, but you probably have somewhere over like, seven to $800,000 over 40 years from $10,000. And it really starts to affect you when you start taking the money out of investment accounts to
Hmm.
pay for things, right? So you take all the money out of your investment accounts to put towards a down payment on a home. You just took up all of, um, you know, you just hurt yourself on
For the
how much
future and
money that
all
you
your
could be
compounding.
earning.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because it's like a short term like consumer basis. Yeah. So I just actually for my son, he just was born a month ago, or I'm sorry, 8 weeks
Nice.
ago. I just opened an Acorns account for him, and
Nice.
I'm investing $20 a week out of my account plus I round up to the nearest dollar in every transaction. Well, what people
Nice.
don't understand is that every time I swipe my card, I don't miss that money. And at that $20 a week, I don't even know that it comes out of my account. And there's a possibility by the time he's 18, by the time he's graduated, that there will be like 35 G's in there. Well, that's 35 G's that he can use for anything he wants and money that I'm never going to miss.
Yeah.
So I feel like, that is the power of, of using, it's kind of like we were talking about a little bit off camera. It's always like this, okay, cool, Evan, but what can I do right this second? Like, right. But that's nothing is right this second. And that's what, like I said, that 18 years from now, when he graduates, I will never have missed that money. And so I opened it and then deleted the app off my phone. So I don't know how much is in there and I won't. But when I did the math on the app, cause it has like a little, a thing that show you what you could possibly have, dude, 35
Yep.
G's in 18 years of money that I would never even know was out of my account. And it's
That you're
crazy
just
that
letting compound.
exactly. And it's crazy that, like I said, we have that power, but we don't use it. Or we have that power and then we go, oh shit, well, God, I looked at it there and there is 3,500 bucks in there and there is that thing that I want. And then we take it out. Right.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit. I feel like this is financial discipline too. So like, talk to me a little bit about what you think is, something, a key you can give to somebody about, I mean, you heard all the things that he just talked about that are possible. So, you know, give me some little nuggets on like, why it's good to be financially disciplined. I've been so much better within the last couple of years of that for myself, but how can somebody else like see the bigger picture basically?
Um, so kind of give them just like some advice on like managing like credit cards or just like
hmm
managing like their finances, you
Yeah,
know?
just what like basically what we were just talking about, like your outlook on that, on being disciplined, or like you said, consumer debt versus business debt or investor
Yeah.
debt. Basically because like I said, I feel like we can, these things are, in the way that you teach it, power to us, but if we don't use it correctly, it's power to the man. So um
Right.
what do you, in your experience, in your journey, the people that you have helped, what do you think makes the difference between the two people that are the consumer versus the, I want to say, the producer, I guess?
Well, kind of the thing that I was thinking about, is just a lot of people want to complicate things. And I've just noticed, the best thing that you can do is keep things simple. So there's always a question that I ask myself before I'm about to swipe a credit card. And it's just really simple. Is this going to make me money? Or, is this like a want? So if it's not going to make me money, it must be a want. And if it's a want, do I have the money to pay it off tomorrow? Right. So if it's a pair of shoes that I want, like I make sure that I have the money to pay off that pair of shoes
Mm-hmm.
in my bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then if I don't, then I don't get the pair of shoes. Right.
Straight up.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
That's that discipline. That's what I was talking about. That's kind of the direction I wanted to go with that. And I really like that, because we have these like I said, this a lot of us, have this low hanging fruit like mentality. It's like, well, this is easy for me to get right off the rip. So
mhm.
let me get the course. How am I going to get this? How am I going to get this money back? How is this going to make me money? And I want to know now, well, that's like, there like you said, there is no such thing. Like, these things take time. Well, if you have bad credit or you have bad credit history, guess what? You just took whatever I'm about to teach you and you just upped it by 6 months to a year if you had good credit or started at zero. So
Yep.
no, I really and like I said, that was huge for me. I was I was a consumer for such a long time. My wife actually turned me on to financial intelligence when I met her. Dude, I mean, I was eating out. I was a bartender living that life, eating out 3 times a day. And, she cracked open all my W-2s and was like, you're making, and this was at the time I thought this was a lot of money. I didn't even know how much I was making. She was like, well,
Yeah.
you're making $5,000 a month. How much do you have saved? And I was like, none. What do you
Yeah.
mean? And well, dude, when you spend $70 a day on food, and you know what I mean, it's just like that. I don't want to cook my food. I don't have time. I'm doing this, doing that, going to the gym, doing whatever and not paying attention. And that was my quick fix, was that somebody else is making my food and it was easy and I was being social and um not responsible. I mean, and that's what I feel like a lot of us do
Yeah.
with credit and with that power that they can give us, is that we're not responsible with it.
Right. Yeah. So one thing that I was just thinking about when you were just talking just now is, there's actually just something that you reminded me of that I guess I kind of forgot that I do. So, when I was taught credit, I was really taught to really look at my finances, right? So the normal person, what they do is, they have like 50% of their income just goes to, rent, car, sometimes even more, it could be even like 60%, just a rent in their vehicle, right? And then they have, 30% that goes to other things, gas, food, credit card bills, whatever miscellaneous stuff, and then you have like your entertainment, right? And then like that little amount that's left over, normally people put into savings. Well, I was actually taught to do the opposite. So what you should do is really figure out your lifestyle to figure out how you can be living on 50% and still invest or save 50% of your income.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So what you figure out is you look at like how much you're making, and then you really design your lifestyle around that. So um
Yeah.
you
And
say, I'm making $5,000 after taxes, because it's the other thing that you have to factor in. So people will look at their gross. So you have to factor in, I'm making $5,000 a month after taxes. Cool. Well, what you want to do is, if you can't do 50%, then try to do like invest or save 30% or something until your income grows to where you get to a point where you're able to invest 50% of your income. Because then life's going to get so much easier, investing,
Mhm.
saving, you keep, one thing I tell people too is, have, 3 to 6 months of reserves in the bank and invest everything else, right? Like
Yep.
you have your safety net, your car breaks down, you're able to pay for it. Um, lose a job, you're able to, you give yourself that cushion, right? So that's kind of like the starting point. So you give your cushion of like your 3 to 6 months of your safety net. And then everything else that comes into your bank, you throw it into, you can throw it into the S&P 500, which historically has done, 9 to 10%. I think it's like 9.16% is the actual number over the last 150 years. And you just, invest 50% of your income in that and just let that compound. And that's just like on the back burner. So now you got your money earning interest and dividends off the
Mhm.
S&P 500.
Yeah.
And then that way you're keeping your bills low. So you're able to see, okay, so now you factor it in. Okay, so my rent is $1,000, right? So 50% of my 50%, if that makes sense, right? So is going to rent, and then I have a 300 car note, so that takes into account. So then you say, okay, this is how much I had to spend on food, and then that's like it kind of just like reverse engineering it.
Mhm. Yeah, see, mine is what was, I think for me, what kind of flipped the coin with that is I'm an extremist. I always have been, like, with my diet, with my lifestyle, with my passions, with my hobbies. I've always been an extremist. So the only way for me to save money for myself, my personal way, was make it unavailable to me. So every time I get paid, I go directly to the bank and I take it out of my checking account, and that's it. Like, the money
Yep.
is no longer in there. It cannot be spent because it's not in there. Then I take it to another bank, which is a small credit union, put it in a savings account that has no card attached to it. So I
Right.
can't get it out. That bank does, as a small credit union, does not offer an app. So I don't have no access to that money unless I went to that bank. And that bank is all the way across town. And I did that on purpose as well. So
Nice.
I'm like right now. I mean, and it's, I mean, it's crazy too. I mean, the mindset has to be there, and you really have to be sticking to staying in your lane. Like, I down my wife and I, um, during this last year, we paid off all of our credit cards, paid off her car. I downgraded my vehicle, so I had no payment. So the only bills that we have is housing, insurance, phone, and utilities. So we're saving like it's and saving and investing 70 to 80% of our income right now to
Amazing.
try to put us in a better spot for the next couple of years for our future, because we don't, you want to get to the point where you're able to do that and save that 70-80%, but also live the lifestyle that you want to live, and that
Hmm.
comes with some sacrifice in the beginning. I mean, there's no way to do both things at the same time. You can't live your luxurious life when you don't have the income that matches that. So
Right.
I feel like that's kind of where I wanted to go with that whole discipline thing, is there is a period of grit and investing in time that goes into before this result pops out, basically.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I'm
Yep.
at right now
It's
is,
just following that blueprint, and it's like the reason you want to work with percentages is because you don't increase. A lot of people, they get the new job and then they do this, right? So they make more and then they spend more,
yep,
right? So the reason you want to work with percentages is because
it always stays the
you're
same.
investing, it always stays the same. You're always investing 50% of your income, and you don't increase your lifestyle unless you're making more money and still putting away 50%. So if you're making, $5,000 a month, and then you're making 10,000 now. So now your lifestyle gets better, but you're still investing, still sticking to that principle. So the
Hmm.
principle doesn't change no matter what you're making.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. I think, but and I don't know what changed for me, but now I'm at the point where that as my income raises, like it's just wild to me the stuff that I used to do. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
my first $10,000 a month, I think I saved, dude, something stupid like $6,500. And I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know what I mean? Like, what would I do? Go buy a pair of shoes and go to the mall and eat out every day and just shit that makes no return for me, my family, and my future. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
um, getting past that consumer hump, what took such a long time, but now I feel like that I'm on the other side and I have better influences in my life and people that are trying to level up, and like running into people like yourself and have these type of conversations, just like more motivation. Like it's not, to me, I'm no longer worried about what people see. It's like more of a challenge, is like, can I get this? Now the challenge is, God, do you think I could save more than that? Off that 10,000, you know what I mean? Do you think I can live off three and save seven? Like,
And then at that time, you're kind of gamifying it. It kind of just becomes a game.
exactly. And a challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you'll just naturally start doing better. Like, I'm a big shoe guy, and I
Yeah.
like I
Same.
like nice shoes and everything
Hmm.
like that. And but there was a point in time where I didn't buy shoes for like 2 years.
Hmm.
Everything was going into courses, it was going into mentors, it was going
Yep.
into networking events, it was going into things that would produce some sort of result.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like that. Like we say in the entrepreneur space, it's giving up that short term
To
gratification.
get the
It's
long
a
term.
delayed gratification.
Hmm.
Yeah, to get the long term reward.
Yeah, I used to work at Nike. I sold almost my whole Jordan collection and put it in my forex account. But I had to do
Nice.
it. I was like, yo, if I do this, I know that I can get the ones that I want back in a couple, in a year's time.
Yeah. And it really comes down to just the lifestyle that you want to live. I like nice things. I like the nice cars. I
Yep,
like the
yep,
vacations. I like
same.
the homes. It's just me. So,
Mhm.
I understand that about myself. So I'm like, okay, like I have to do well
So
to
how do
get
you make
these
it
things.
work? Yeah, exactly. And
Uh,
that's it.
the only option for me is to do better.
Yep. Yeah. It's weird when you admit that and you're like, okay, so what do I do to make that work? And that's why, like I said, we talked a little bit earlier that I worked all the way up until this point so I could basically start all over with forex. I mean, I really feel like I'm starting from square one, because like the only supplemental income I have is videography, which is I worked 8 years to be able to build that, to get it to where I could work it full time. Then I went to the point where I'm not working it full time so I can start over to do something else. And it's like every time I start this new grind, I feel like I'm starting all the way over, and I kind of like it, but just getting to the point where I'm like, okay, like forex is going to give me that power to live the lifestyle that I want. It gives me the time freedom and it gives me the financial freedom to have what I want. So it's a way longer journey than people think it is. I mean, like I said, I dumped all my job money into my camera equipment and my side hustle,
Yeah.
and that took me, like I said, almost 8 years. And then now I'm dumping my videography money into my forex, and it's just like this constant, like, man, I feel like as soon as I feel like I'm doing well financially, I take a big dip to try to invest for the bigger picture, you know?
Yep. Yeah, that's
So,
awesome. And one thing I kind of was thinking about when you were talking is just that you're just gaining more clarity like on the life that you want. And I think
mhm,
that's so important too, because when you're working that job, you're working like so hard at it, right? Because like you wanted like a better lifestyle, right? And money was going to get you there. But now you have a kid, so Forex is going to offer like that freedom.
mhm,
So you're making those sacrifices to cut back from maybe photography's that's taking up a little bit of time to invest into Forex,
mhm,
so that you can only work, that 8 to 12 hour work week,
mhm,
and
exactly,
hang
yep.
out. That's why I got into Forex, is because I really want to just I want my work week to be like so automated. Like I want my work week to be like 15 hours a week. I've been
Mhm,
working so hard from when
mhm.
I was like 19 to right now when I'm 24 that like, I don't want to do this forever. Like,
No,
yes, I
yeah, that's not the
work
point
hard.
of
I can
life,
work
dude. It's
hard,
not
like
yeah,
that.
it's not the
But
life. It's like to put in that, that grind time and then, build the skill set like we talked about and then reap the rewards for the rest of your life and have it be so like almost robotic. Like, okay, I need to make money. Like, I know the setup, I know the skill. Like, let me take a trade and let me move on with my day. And that's what I want. I
yeah,
really, um, and I know this is crazy, but I'm literally everything. And I ride motorcycles. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, but
yeah,
so everything that I've done has been to actually pursue my dream to ride the bike. So, like, I worked my ass off to put money in the bike, and then I was like, okay, if I'm entrepreneur, I can make more money working less hours, and then I can put that money into the bike, and then have more time to ride the bike. Because when I was working two jobs, I had the money but no time, right? And now that I'm in forex, I'm like, wow, now I can really travel and ride. I mean, it's all literally. Just trying to build my finances to put back into my passion, basically, so I can do my passion full time and not get paid for it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
100%. That's
and so,
why that's why I'm doing everything right now. On the outside looking in, it looks like, I'm just out here trying to make like a lot of money and stuff like that. But there's a bigger picture behind everything,
mhm.
right? So
Yep,
I'm
yep,
trying to take care. I'm trying to take care of my dad. I'm trying to take,
yep,
my mom and my grandma and my family. Eventually when I have kids, just be able to pack up our stuff and go to,
yep.
Greece for 2 weeks,
Mhm,
or Dubai or uh,
mhm,
Miami or San Diego, or maybe go somewhere like we've never seen, Thailand, and be able to just do that. And because like the experience is like so much more for me, but there's things that come into play, right? Like you have financial freedom and you also have location freedom,
mhm,
that also like creates like your time freedom. So
mhm.
you mix all three of those, that's really like my perfect lifestyle.
Yep,
So
same.
the money to me is really just a tool.
Exactly.
That's really all
Mhm.
I look at money as, is just a we're building a house and you need the tools. Money just happens to be the hammer that's gonna put the
Exactly.
found
Mhm.
build everything.
Yeah, see,
You know
I have a friend that I talk to about money a lot, and he's kinda like the money is the root of all evil guy. And I tell him that to me, money is so unimportant in my life that I need to have a lot of it. You know what I mean? If does that make sense to you at all when I say that?
Yeah,
Like, so when the car breaks down, sure, no problem. Let's go buy a new one. Like,
yeah,
it's not a egotistical thing for me. It's, hey, my aunt can't pay her rent. Boom. Okay, I just paid it 6 months. Like, that's what I want. I really, I'm not this flashy dude. Like, I want to use it to help the people around me, and also too, in pursuit of getting what I want, inspire other people to do the same, right? So
right.
that's really what the tool is for me, is to be able to know that no matter what happens, we can take care of it because it's so unimportant. Oh, hey, kid needs this. Oh, kid gets sick. Right? Like, it's so unimportant in my life that I need to have a lot of it. And that's just kind of what my mantra has been for the last year in trying to do all these investments, is that I have to think long term. Like, I have to think like, these are the things that are going to set me up. Like, is it fun to blow forex accounts? No, it's not. It sucks and it makes me want to quit. But I know once I figure this out, that the $300 accounts that I've blown, I'm going to make that in a couple seconds. Once I know what I'm doing. I mean, if I trade 2 lots on gold, that's 3 pips. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just having that vision of the future is what keeps me going, you know? So, um,
that's awesome.
man, I love this conversation, bro. I want to round it out a little bit. Tell people where they can find you. Um, Talk to me a little bit about, when your course is dropping, where they can find that, and then we'll peace out.
So you can find me on I'm on pretty much every social media, with the exception of YouTube. Right now, I plan to start a YouTube channel down the road. It's not my main focus just yet. I do want to start doing some other cool stuff outside of the credit space. Doing some cool stuff right now that I'm pretty, once I got a lot of things that I'm investing into right now. And so once those start to pay off, I kind of want to kind of creating that blueprint for other people to take. So, but other than that, I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn. I actually really, I never used LinkedIn before, but I'm actually becoming like a really big fan of LinkedIn and Instagram. And if anybody wants to connect, send me DM, just ask for advice. The biggest thing for me is like the course space is kind of slimy, So like if someone asks a question, they're like, "Yeah, buy my course, $1,000." But it's like if it's just a question that you can answer for someone, I'm more than happy to do that. So,
Yeah,
you can shoot me
I
like
like that, because that's you do find that a lot. Like, it's like, well, that answer is in my course. Here's the link, and you're like, damn, bro.
because it
You're not a real person.
because to me it comes from like a place of lack, right? Like I'm not selling a course. Like I I learned how to make money on my own. That like if people don't buy my course, then I'll still just continue to do what I'm doing. It's just releasing a course to give other people the tools and the knowledge that they need to get to wherever they want to go.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, that was kind of like a long answer just to
No, that's cool.
say like
But
if anybody's listening to this, just send me DM, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, add me
dope.
on Snapchat. I think Snapchat, my name is just I think it's Evan_Jenkins or something. So I'm pretty much on everything.
Okay, cool. And one thing I do want to say about the courses is, what people, I feel like, like you said, it could be a slimy space, but at the same time, there is like, people that are actually trying to do good with it, like yourself. You can reach so many more people, because how many people can you give one-on-one advice to? Like, I mean, it would take you months to get through the people that you could serve, because that's what you're providing a service. It would take you, months to serve all these people that you could, people can get through in a couple hours. You know what I mean? So, man, I really appreciate you having this conversation with me. This was dope. I'll have this chopped up a little bit for Instagram for you. I'll send you the link. It's going to be on Spotify and Apple Music. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.